And welcome back to the Boundary Corner podcast, along with my partners Brian Siegler, Jonathan Talley, and Shelton Moss. I am Curtis Wilson. And this episode is brought to you by Dr. Jeremy Kent's down at the Main Street Pharmacy in Blacksburg, your friendly neighborhood pharmacy located at 301 South Main Street in Blacksburg. We all throwing all off here. Last week we were Wednesday night. We ain't done Tuesday in 2 weeks. Shelton's back. It's Monday, boys, and it's been a long, long weekend.
We have not done a Monday night episode, and I cannot remember how long, man.
Ooh, Monday Night Raw, baby.
Monday Night Raw. It's going to be Raw
We got a little double feature on the screen back here.
Got a little double feature?
Yeah, prayers right up for Nick Chubb, man. I went and looked.
Oh, God, yeah.
I went and looked. I did.
That's not good, and that stinks for him. Yeah, not great at all. Yeah, prayers up for him. Prayers up for the fantasy owners that have him, because I know some of y'all are in big dollar leagues and y'all took him in the first round. So, you're going to lose your money now. But, y'all, we got a ton to unload. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Rutgers game. We're going to talk about knowing the enemy in Marshall and everything in between. Real quick, as usual, I kick off the episode, hashtag Rowdy for Robbie. Again, it's another away game, so go down to the pharmacy, Venmo $7. Get this in support of a great cause. Shout out Grayson out on the West Coast. Real quick before we get into discussing the Rutgers game, there was a decommitment that anybody that knew anything, when the kid got the offer, he was going to be gone. And that's Eric Mensah flipping to Ohio State. Everybody that looked into that, anybody that knew when he committed, basically it was said, right? I know we talked about it. All four of us were on conversations about it. If he gets Ohio State, he's gone. The whole hope is they land one of their bigger DTs, some top 100 player, and they leave him alone. But unfortunately, they didn't.
Right.
Yeah, that was the concern out the gate. Like, we knew, all right, we knew that Virginia Tech was probably a settled selection because he had his eyes on Ohio State. He hadn't gotten a committable offer at that time. He wanted to make sure that he had a spot somewhere in a boat that was of his choosing and not having to go with slim pickings at the end of the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
We were that choice. Ohio State said, come on in the boat, and here's where we are, guys.
Yeah, definitely. Big time loss, because I feel like the trenches is what we need, both sides of the ball. So to lose a defensive lineman, I don't know where they're going to put him at, but a big guy like that, definitely not a easy pill to swallow. But like you said, Curtis, kind of expected from the beginning, because that's just what we are as a program right now. We've got some building to do so we can hold on to kids like that and fight off those big programs. But at this point, we are who we are.
Yep. Anything additional to add on this, Shelton, or,
No, Ohio State gets what they want. That's how it goes. So gotta keep moving on and just keep finding a way to develop them.
Yes, it is. All right, well, boys, that's all we got in sort of the news and notes section. I pulled something out of there because we're going to talk about it later, but let's talk about it. It's To Tell the Truth Tuesday, Monday night edition. Hokies fall to Rutgers 35-16.
Hurt.
One of those. I told Siegler watching this game, me and Siegler got up with the families, grilled some burgers out, had a good time.
Smash burgers were on point.
The burgers were
looked good.
The burgers were on point, y'all. Y'all don't know that man can cook smash burgers on his griddle. We partaked in two. Me and him did.
Yeah.
We grubbed down two.
I ain't mad at that.
Yeah. But I told Brian my first thought on this game was Pitt last year. Yeah. Similar vibes of they got out on us. We clawed back. We're right there. We need one good thing to happen, and then the wheels fell off.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about the wheels falling off, but we're going to talk about that some things did go well. That's what we start with. We start with the positives. What went well? And Brian, I'll let you kick it off on the offensive side of the ball. What is the one thing that we know went well?
Well, it's been a hot fucking topic on the timeline, but Drones proved he's quarterback one.
Yeah.
That's what happened. If you're looking at what Tyler Bowen wants to do from a schematic standpoint on offense, Drones gives us the most complete version of that. Of the quarterbacks that we have on the roster right now that are ready to play, Drones gives us the most complete version of that. And we saw it. We saw it come to fruition with the way we were able to generate a somewhat competent rushing attack against the best rush defense we've played so far this season.
And a very good rush defense.
And I didn't, other than maybe some, and we'll talk about this, some of the explosive plays, I didn't really see a drop off in terms of passing efficiency.
Very Wells-esque game. You know, like it was like it wasn't, you know, didn't blow me away with numbers as far as what he did. I think 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 19 for 30 or 19 for 31, something like that, 190 yards. Like you said, no drop off. You carried the ball 22 times though for like 75 yards. We haven't seen that in a while, you know, and it just to me looked like plays were different when he was in there, you know. And I can say the kid was trying. He's got a lot of stuff to work on, but I can say the kid was in there giving it his all. He left it on the field. And I think that the more that he gets comfortable playing with his guys and running that offense, I think he can only get better. You know, that's just me. That's what I see. That's what I seen watching the game. I didn't see somebody who was, you know, kind of timid and scared to, you know, make a play. Now we had some miscues, of course. I know everybody know that. We got to tell the truth Tuesday, Monday Night Raw, whatever you want to call it.
We can get there.
Yeah, we can't turn the ball over first play of the game, but I think you got to go with him the rest of the year.
Yeah, Sheldon, what'd you get? You get anything from a data point that kind of said, okay, here's where we were. I don't even want to say the first 2 weeks. To me, ODU is G5. We played 2 Power 5 teams back to back. Yes, they are different. But what sort of data points are we seeing that might say where we're feeling in our eyes saying leading QB1 is drones?
Yeah, I mean, well, it definitely got better. I mean, the Purdue game from a rushing perspective in terms of EPA, expected points added, was literally the worst rushing performance by any team, any FBS team in any game this year. So it got better. It did get better. I thought the rushing game was a lot better. They had some success running those QB draws. Sometimes there was miscommunication between, you know, the quarterback and the halfback as far as, you know, what they were trying to do. Kind of, you know, not sure where each guy was in the backfield. And those things kind of are expected with a first-time QB starter. But I thought it was good. I mean, I think his legs provide a lot for the team. He's much more comfortable as a runner, obviously, than Wells is. And I think he fits the vision for Bowen in terms of just that RPO, you know, zone running scheme offense in terms of just his ability to create plays with his legs. So, you know, stats-wise, nothing really jumps off the board a ton. But if you're talking about just relative to what we've seen from Tech the past couple of games, it was a lot better.
Yeah, and you say that, and I'll throw up because you said Purdue was the worst EPA game. First 2 games this year, net rushing was 120 yards. That is 60 yards a game. We were at 129 net rushing for the game versus Rutgers, which is a significantly better rush defense and significantly better defense in general. So I see that, and I see 100% improvement. The only thing that changed was Kyron Drones. He didn't have his top 2 wide receivers. Jalen Lane was out. We know that Ollie's going to be out for a while, if not the whole season. And the reason for what he did without those 2 guys on the field, and the way I loved it, he locked on one guy all day. No, he didn't. Holloway, XTB, Gosnell, Steven, that is. Aiden Green, the freshman. Daquan Wright had catches. Dajuan Lofton had catches. It wasn't like he locked on one guy and that's all he found all day. There were some scramble drills where he made good plays. But the guy that jumped out as far as I'm concerned, Daquan Felton proved he is for real. 6 catches, 84 yards. And if he doesn't miss that one, I think it would have been – that was a 50-plus yard deep ball, 130-plus and an extra touchdown. Felton's for real. Wouldn't you say stat tally?
Oh, yeah, man. He looked good. I've been screaming to get him involved in just the game, period. You know, they tried to go long to get him involved. But I seen him, you know, one of my favorite plays that I seen them close to the red zone, close to the goal line, they hit him with a screen, you know, and then they just let him work. It's kind of an extension of the running game. Mm-hmm. Just pop up, throw him the ball. And kudos to the blocking, man. Kudos to the blocking when you get your wide receivers out there blocking for a big time receiver like that. But we needed him to get some confidence because he looked so deflated against Purdue. To keep running routes and the players are just not going your way. You're just not getting the looks. You're just not getting the stats. And you can see him on the sideline. I got a video of him on the sideline, kind of pacing. He's just frustrated. He's transferred in and he wants to be involved. Of course he is. Of course he does. So to see him get started, I'm hoping it can, give us some kind of spark moving forward because we're going to need it, man. We're going to need all hands on deck. Tucker Holloway is gimpy. He looked gimpy. I said it when he returned the kick. He looked gimpy. We don't know when Lane's coming back. Jennings is out for the foreseeable future. Wright was still banged up. We are banged up, man. You know what I'm saying? So anybody that we can see flash, let's let them eat. Please let them eat.
What about you, Brian? What did you see from him other than some of the stuff Tally pointed out?
So when I looked at this team, it almost was like we had a similar wide receiver makeup as we had most of last year, just with a little bit of an extra bump, right? Because I feel like Felton's skill set is kind of similar to what Caleb Smith brought to the table. I feel like Felton is a little bit more physical than Caleb was. But I think that in terms of their overall skill set, good combination of speed and size, right? And then you've got most of the cast of characters that we had last year with XTB and Benji Gosnell kind of thrown in there. But it kind of reset the level of the wide receiver room again, kind of to that 2022 level. And I thought that given those limitations, I think everybody kind of did what they could expect, or the most you could expect from them. I think Felton had a good game. Again, one drop that was, pretty big, but I think he showed that he could be a guy that you could lean on when you don't have one or two other guys in the game for an extended stretch there. So, we'll see how we move forward with that, but probably his best game all around. And obviously, he was more the focal point this week than we've seen the last couple.
On anything data-wise on him, I know we're very, very short into the season with Felton, but anything on him?
No, I mean, he's graded out fine. I know he missed one pass block on a screen pass, I think in the first half, which was not great. But no, I think he's been good. And also the touchdown they scored was a good route concept. Rutgers, I don't know what their coverage was, but they're playing some deep zone defense where I think the corner was backing off and he kind of came over as a crosser and Jones hit him for a big score. So good route against that particular coverage.
Yeah. So again, offensively, not all bad. I think the other thing that I looked at that caught my eye immediately, with the exception of the last one when we were down 35-16, you know how many 3 and outs we had, notwithstanding turnovers?
How many?
Goose egg. We did not have 1 3 and out.
Wow.
Less the turnovers.
I didn't know that.
We didn't have a 3 and out. We moved the ball every time because if you think about it, we pinned them deep a couple times. We got to midfield a couple times.
Right.
Third drive of the game, we missed the field goal.
Yeah.
Which really was deflating because it was a 37-yarder.
Yeah, you got to get points there.
And John Love had made those. I told Brian, he must have been aiming at the inside of the upright to miss it where he did. Yeah. But that is what it is offensively. Let's talk about the defense because we got a couple points for the defense here. They're going to come out a little bit more. But, other than that one big explosive run Wimstead had, that 34-yard touchdown run, the other 10 runs he had were roughly for about 53 yards. So if you're telling me a running quarterback is averaging 5 yards a carry all day, every day, twice on Sundays.
Yeah, besides that, man, he had 40 yards passing. I know we're going to probably touch on that here in a little bit, but if you can hold a quarterback, if you tell me we hold a quarterback to 46 yards throwing the ball and they are not running a 2-quarterback system, they only have whatever 50 yards passing, I would never think we lose 35-16. But again,
at least think it would be a close game. Like,
yeah,
the way it turned out, I mean, that ended up being a blowout.
yeah, it all came down to those big runs, like you said, kind of reminiscent of the Pitt game last year, man. You get to the point where, okay, we get a stop here. We got something, and we let them blow off a big run. Even, and I know we touch on a lot of stuff, but even thinking about that, I think it was a third down call, maybe like 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, and we got everybody flying inside, and their running back busted to the outside for a 55-yard touchdown. Like, what a turnover, man. You just can't, as a team, you can't do that.
Brian, don't say it yet. Brian's got that play already circled out here. Don't say anything on that. You'll make him jump a segment ahead. What else, Brian? Brian, I felt like sitting with you, you kept saying better wraps, especially up front, especially in the front seven, which if the front seven had tackled better against Purdue, they don't get as much as they did offensively.
Yeah, I thought the tackling, especially with the linebackers, improved in this game. Unfortunately, there was other holes that opened up elsewhere in that aspect of it, but I thought the linebackers played pretty well. I thought the front tackled pretty well. We didn't quite get home on some of those blitzes, but I thought we did a pretty good job of tackling when we were in a position to make a play in the run game. The big problem was that we'd have these long stretches of defense where we're forcing 3 and outs, and then we let a big one go. Like, very much a boom or bust defensive game overall. So it's really hard to kind of wrap your head around that, because it was again, circling back to Curtis, it was very much like the Pitt game where you either were giving up nothing or everything.
Yeah.
Sheldon, do you have anything on like where we are currently explosive plays wise?
I do not, but I can look it up quickly.
All right. Well, while he's looking that up, I think something we are noticing is, and you mentioned with the 46 yards tally, the back end coverage wise, regardless who's back there, regardless how they're rotating the safeties, regardless if they're putting the young guys in at corner, the back end coverage, those concepts with those young guys are getting it. And obviously the guys who've been here a while are absolutely getting it, because
and you got to understand too, like this, I know this isn't a moral victory podcast or a excuse podcast, but the truth is what the truth is. Like somebody said the other day, we are down 3 out of 4 captains the third game of the season. You got Stroman went out in that game.
Yes, he did.
Stroman went out, and you could see when he went out, it was a different defense. Stroman went out. Keontae Jenkins is hurt. You got Jalen Jones and a true freshman back there. Jalen Jones was a wide receiver last year.
Yes,
and Mose Phillips was
in high school
last year. So, man, dude, I said, man, we got to go tip somebody off, man. We got the worst out of any college football team I've ever watched. But again, man, it is a lot moving back there, and I got to give at least some kudos to the young guys, man. They are getting in there. I seen Dante Lovett come in and absolutely put his face in a couple of tackles, and that's a big deal. We're gonna need stuff like that. We're gonna need guys to develop.
Yeah, I mean, Tally, you talked about it. Like we said at the start of the season, we were making our predictions that looking at this roster, it's improved, but the margins are razor fucking thin.
Mm-hmm.
Because when your starters go out, you get real young real quick.
Yep.
And the 2 areas that we have some actual experience in are also 2 areas that we under-recruited for significant years, mentioned in the D-line and O-line. So those are 2 things that are right now working in tandem, is that we've got a bunch of injuries in areas that we did improve in some ways. And you couple that with your other 2 units are now harder to hide. The 2 units that you knew were going to be problems this year are harder to hide. So it's a lot of snowballing happening right now with those injuries, and that kind of puts us in that situation we were talking about. You're starting to kind of ratchet down those expectations because
we said it.
Things aren't going exactly the way you want to from an injury standpoint.
Well, you can never predict injuries, and we'll talk about that in just a few minutes here. But Sheldon, you said you were able to find it, and I know I'm going to take this and we're going to pivot it in a second. But Sheldon, what are we looking like explosive plays wise on defense?
Not good. I just focused on the explosive rushing plays allowed.
Okay.
Tech is 125th in number of 10-plus yard rushing plays allowed. And if you look at 20-plus yards, they are fourth to last, ahead of only Western Kentucky, Buffalo, and North Texas.
So 125th, 127 out of 131. So
133 actually, but yes.
I'm sorry. Forgot to add.
Don't sell Sam Houston State short. They got to avoid Cornell.
Let's not talk about that offense.
Sam Houston, eh?
Yeah. But I think let's pivot it over into the what went bad because, Brian, go ahead and go to it because you mentioned it all afternoon, especially after Stroman went out. What's causing the explosive run plays? I'd love to have the breakdown of where we went from week 2 to week 4. Or week 3,
Yeah, I feel like there's a couple things at play here. Number one, we saw kind of the return of the cascade effect from last season where you have a bad play and that leads to another bad play. The bad part is that happened right out the gate for us, right? We had a fumble. One play later, it's a touchdown. We're already
explosive
down
run play.
7-0.
Explosive run play. Touchdown.
There's been 3 offensive plays run, and you started with the ball, and now you're down a touchdown. So,
and it was nobody touched anybody.
Nope.
Nah,
it was just deflated as soon as you get the ball
over pursuit, and then the lane it parted like the Red Sea, pow, right up the middle. So the other problem is that we're looking at the safety situation. This goes back to the injuries, but as you said, we've got Jalen Jones, Mose Phillips playing a large majority of the snaps in this game. And I feel like from the perspective of coverage, there's not a big drop off with those two compared to the 2 starters, Nasir Peoples and Jalen Stroman. There's not a huge drop off there. Where there is a drop off is in those run fits and the run coverage. They are struggling right now with fits, pursuit angles, and pretty much everything that they need to do in terms of run support. It wasn't great last week. It was very bad this week.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the 55-yard run, Brian, we sat there and watched that, and as soon as it happened, as soon as they showed the replay, Blind screamed because I think we looked on Twitter and someone was like, "What's Strong doing?" And Brian's like, "They're in man. He's supposed to go."
Strong is running with his man as he should. The safety is supposed to replace that. He is now the force player. He was not the force player.
He stayed inside.
Yeah,
because if you look at, I wish we had time to pull it. We had to do this 24 hours notice, but you said as soon as Strong crossed his back, he should have taken 3 steps and effectively turned his body to leverage inside. He didn't. He stayed right there. The tight end got up on him in 2 seconds, off tackle, outside.
Yep.
And there wasn't a great pursuit angle from the backside safety either. The backside safety over pursued, so it was really both safeties were now out of position.
What were you about to say, Tally?
I'm just saying that's what a good coach team does. Like they'll exploit a broken play or a weakness, and that play wasn't designed to go for 55-yard touchdown. They were trying to get a first down, but that running back, he's a good running back, and he's a well coached running back, and he bounced that thing to the outside, and he was off to the races. So those run fits have to get better if we want to slow somebody down.
I like what y'all mentioned there, Brian and Tally talking about that first one. Nobody wanted to touch anybody. In some of those, we were just way too aggressive, and we're talking about there are times those safeties are too passive, and there's times they're too aggressive, and to me that's a youth thing. It's a youth thing because there's nothing you can do because if you tell them, hey, you got to be more aggressive, and then the next time they be aggressive and they completely overshoot the gap or they completely miss the fit, hey, you got to calm down. Well, then they're back 15 yards and the guy's getting way upfield. Sheldon.
Well, this is what happens when you have 2 guys that are playing that you expected to play 20-25% of the snaps in the game, playing 75, 80, 90% of the snaps in the game.
They played all of them.
Yeah.
And there's only so much because I think there's a snap count out there about Mansour. Mansour's trying to play some. They're trying to put Canteen in those safety situations. They're trying to rotate those guys to help it out. But eventually, it's like there's still, even if you rotate perfectly, they're still going to be running 60%. Sheldon, were you able to get those the Moss and Jalen run grades? I just got to hear it if we got it.
It was, I know for Jones, it was in the, I think his grade for this game was in the 20s for run defense. So, and for the season, he's in the 40s, which I think is the third worst among Power 5 safeties. So it's been rough.
So we're not just talking about it to talk about it. We're talking about it to bring the point up. But the point also has to be made, y'all. You're not going to take freshmen. You're not going to take a guy who's switching positions and make them elite safeties or very high competent safeties in less than 3 games. Get your heads out your asses if you're thinking like that. We don't have Stroman back there. But Peoples back there. People were dogging on Peoples earlier this season. You wish he was there now. You got to think. Don't just say, everybody needs to be fired. We need to get rid of everybody. That's not how it works, right, Sheldon? You can't develop someone in 3 games.
Yeah, I would also add to that. Jalen Jones went to Thomas Jefferson High School, which is near where I live. Shout out to the 804. The competition level in Richmond City is not great, and also it is not great at his high school. So he was very much a developmental guy that kind of had to come in and learn the game. I would assume that his ranking was because, obviously he's a really talented athlete, but he's very much in like that early stage of development. So this is not a guy where you can expect him to be productive for you 3 games into essentially his collegiate career. So there's going to be some growing pains.
All righty. Another thing that went bad, and as I look at the statistics here, is we did not get home inning.
Mm-hmm.
We did not get 1 sack. We were there a couple times. But I think what sucks even more is we only had 3 tackles for loss.
Yeah.
And, Brian, you mentioned this was a chance to exploit them. We probably should have been closer to 7 to 9. But, again, we did miss some tackles. We missed some fits where they were getting positive yards out. Anything you feel, or do y'all think this was just Tally, Brian, primarily y'all, is just this is what that system is? Like, if you do the wrong things up front, even more burn in the back.
Well, I mean, even just some of it is just how tough you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can have the good videos. You can talk about lunch pail defense. You can talk, but when it comes down to it, I think we talked last week when somebody pulled somebody down. I think it was Kelly Lawson. Pull somebody down by their jersey while he was getting blocked. Like, that's just a toughness play. Yeah, you got to be strong to do that, but like, that doesn't feel good to get your fingers wrapped up in a jersey and pull somebody down. But it's just you want it more than the person that is on the other side of the ball. And some plays we don't want it more than them. When you go against a team like Rutgers that is coached by their coach, I mean, everybody knows that they're going to be well coached and tough. And that's just how they played. They just played physical. They just were more physical than us. I don't know if it's just because of injuries. I don't know if it's just because of youth, but we got to get to the point where we take some stuff personal and we go and we produce with that, So, I see Andretti. Thanks, man. I see you back. I'm just because you put his quote up right here, man. Put his comment up. The one we said we need Urban Meyer. So I'll speak on that for a few minutes, man. I get it. I'm not gonna tell you how to be a fan, what to say, what not to say. But I will tell you that ain't happening. If you sit at home and you fantasize about all this stuff and think about this stuff, you will go crazy, man. My DMs and my Twitter goes crazy every day. And guess what? I'll get on there and I'll joke about it and I'll mess with people and I'll let them mess with me. But when I get off Twitter, I got a son that plays baseball. We was at the baseball field all day yesterday. If I sat around and thought about Virginia Tech's program, I would be a depressed motherfucker. Mm-hmm. Like, you got to let it go, man. I get what you're saying and I understand where you're coming from, but I do also understand how college football works. It ain't going to happen for us. For us to get where we want to go, people say, oh, see, this was what happened if we brought Dion in. Dion ain't coming here. You talk about people that we should have got. We should have got Shane. We should have got Kirby Smart. It ain't happening. We got Brett Pry. And I'm not saying we got to like him. I got a lot of questions about the coaching staff. But I'm not going to rack my brain about that coaching staff. I'm just going to call it. You said call a spade a spade. I'm going to call it how I see it every week. But I'm going to get my time to vent, and then I'm going to let it go, and we're going to go to the next week. And then if you rack up enough losses, he's going to be gone anyway.
Yep.
I mean, just keeping it real. I kind of take it back. I talk about my son a lot because that's what I watch. Like, that's what I equate a lot of sports to. My son's team got picked up by a big travel ball organization, and people don't understand development anymore. My son's team, man, I've seen these kids since they were 7, 8 years old. My son went in the travel ball, and he couldn't throw the ball across the field. And he was a good baseball player, but he couldn't throw the ball from first to third without bouncing. And it's just their coaches have been with them since, like I said, 7 or 8 years old. And now these kids are getting bigger, they're getting stronger. And we show up to this tournament down in Birmingham. If you guys ever get a chance to go to Rick Wood Field in Birmingham, it is in the ghetto. It is in the hood. It is scary. When you turn on 3rd Avenue, when you have to pull in them barbed wire fences, it looks a little shaky. But when you get inside that facility and you go see that field, where the old Negro League games were played, man, it just does something to you, man. It's an awesome venue, and I was so happy that those kids got to play there. And we played against a couple of Hoover teams, which, that's pretty much home games for them. We also played at Birmingham Southern College. But anyway, so those Hoover teams are pretty much at home, and they'd never seen our kids. Our kids don't count. Our kids don't go to all-star games. They had never seen us. We just showed up, and they was like, who is this team? We were the only team that went undefeated, and we kicked everybody's ass. And we were much better than everybody we played. So I take that back to the Virginia Tech program. Sometimes you just got to develop, man. And I ain't saying just trust the process. You got to be in the process. You got to, when you're mad, you got to let the coaches know. It's okay to tweet, hey, I don't like that. Maybe they'll see it and change it. We've been crying about the quarterback for how long? We got to see drones, and we like what we see. So hang in there, man. Hang in there. Don't let it tear your day up. Don't let it tear your week up. Let it go about Sunday afternoon. Go ahead, Curtis.
Oh, I'm getting ready to say, I don't know what we would have done 35 years ago, the Frank years. Go look at Frank's record, y'all, up to 1993. Some of y'all would have probably jumped off a building some of those years, 2-9 and all that, and having one winning season up from 1987 to 1993. I know it's a different story. It's a different time. It's a different place. But know that everybody has their down. And Tally, you've been mentioning them a lot, and I'm going to just say it 1 second. Go look at where Florida State was just a handful of years ago. Yes, I know they get more elite talent, but Norvell has also developed that talent. Mm-hmm. He got a lot of talented guys, and he's developed them. All right, Brian. What else went bad from your perspective?
This is an offensive line podcast, right?
This is an offensive lineman podcast. It is.
All right. So I'm going to say something bold.
It's not bold. It's right.
Say it. Just it's our opinion.
I he was getting a lot of props in the off season about being improved and being healthy and all this other stuff. Parker Clements is an absolute liability at right tackle right now.
Golly.
And you watched the tape from yesterday, right? You didn't just. This isn't just.
I watched the tape. This is not just live. This is not. I've watched everything at least twice. His feet are lazy in the run game. He doesn't really bring his hands well. He often looks like he doesn't know what he's doing in the run game, especially in something that's not zone. Like anything that has gap scheme, he just looks lost, which explains a lot of last year and most of this year. So I'm ready to see a mix-up, whether that's.
If you're going to lose, go down fighting.
Yeah. Let's
Parker
mix it up.
Clemens.
Change it.
Hey, man.
It's okay.
You look cool. You had a cool-looking beard one time on a picture. Rural King probably has a great place for you to work. You don't need to be at right tackle right now. Sorry, buddy. Hopefully you watch this podcast and you say, fuck that dude. I'm going to go out here and show him, and you plaster my face on the other team's helmet and you go and run through that helmet. But
Yeah,
what
I need to be the visualization like.
But what I don't need you to do
like in
is
fucking
get behind
Waterboy.
your guard.
Visualize me talking shit about
and
you.
give him the Hamlet maneuver. We don't need to get behind your guard and give him the Hamlet maneuver ever again. We just want you to block, man. But it's not just him, man. Our O-line has to get better. But Brian, I knew where you were going when you said this was bold. It's not that bold, man. It's right. He's got to be better. I know Sheldon, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. You don't have to look nothing up. You probably can just look at the camera and say, yeah, he's pretty bad. His scores have to be horrible, man.
Yeah.
I think Brody Meadows came in and played much better than a lot of people on our line. Just mix it up. Let's mix it up. Let's see some different stuff because what we're doing is not working.
What is that grade, by the way, Sheldon? I mean, I just for confirmation purposes.
I mean, I don't even know. Like, I hadn't paid too much attention to the O-line grades because I feel like there's no point because you can just tell by the eye tests they're not getting it done. And that's, I mean, to me, that's an eye test position. Like, you can just tell they're not. Yeah. The footwork is bad. The angles are bad. The speed. They're just not getting the job done. Like, they can't. And some of the plays too. Like, if we block them upright, I mean, there'd be some big gainers in there, but they just can't. They're just not playing assignment football.
Yeah.
And right now, drones is the Band-Aid to the offensive line. It's, again, why we went from averaging 1 a carry to almost 3.5. Right now, I'm going to take 3.5 all day because it's a semblance of an offense. It's a semblance of a 3rd and 2. You might actually get it. But I think to y'all's point, and like, you're mentioning bad angles and stuff, Sheldon, it comes to a point in time. Right now, we've got 2 young guys on the line. It comes to a point where it's like we've just got to keep trying these young guys because if there is not that big of a difference in the gap between what Parker's doing and what Brody's doing, or, we talked about, I know it's been mentioned, Jack Hollyfield, shout out Michael Yost, put Hollyfield at center, get Caden Moore back to his guard position where he can be
and put Brody at right tackle.
And put Brody at right tackle. What's it going to hurt? You're 1 and 2 right now, and you see where your struggles are. And, that is what it is.
Part of the thing that we wanted to see last year was we just wanted to see somebody actually fight for the job. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody kind of felt like, Grant Wells didn't just have a fire about him. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I know I'm going to go out here and be the starter. I'm all we got. It is what it is. If I mess up, like, scare somebody. Hey, you're not playing no more. We playing the young guys. Sometimes competition breeds some it's going to freaking make a diamond or bust a pipe.
There you go.
Let's see what we can find. Let's see what we can find, man. Tell them, hey, sit out for a couple of. You're gonna sit out. You're gonna stand over here with me and watch somebody else do it, and then rotate them back in. I just need to see something mixed up, man. Because, and again, like Curtis has been saying the whole time, I mean, the offensive line is atrocious, man. I don't even know what to say. Like, watching some stuff from my standpoint, being a tight end, like, our tight ends aren't great at blocking, but they're blocking better than the line sometimes. Like, it's no heart in blocking. So, we can go on and on about that, but we ain't got that much time.
We don't. We could go on and on, but until we see something different on the field, we continue to address it under this section because realistically is the only thing that can be done now is
they're gonna be here until they're averaging over 4 yards carry.
Touche, Wes Osborne. Yes, we need a flex seal for the offensive line. Touche.
But they're going to probably be in this section until they average over 4 yards a carry. So until they're averaging over 4 yards a carry, they're going to be in this section.
Then they're going to be in this section all year. I say if we can stick at 3.5 for multiple weeks, we take them out of the section because the 3.5, if you run it 3 times 3.5 yards, you get a first down.
Yes, sir.
So if we're averaging 4, that means we're probably going over 150 a game, which is exactly where you want to be at a minimum.
We went 130 week 1 of drones. Think if the meshes get better, think if the passing gets better, the lanes will open. All right. Yeah. We've hit this already a little bit, but did anything happen we're not prepared for? And I got our buddy David Cunningham's Twitter up from Saturday night. 2 deep injuries. There are 22 people in the 2 deep. So somebody do the math. Wells is hurt. Jennings is hurt. Lane is hurt. Tisdale is out and didn't hurt. Keontae Jenkins is hurt. Nasir Peoples is hurt. Stroman's hurt. We knew Wright has been banged up. Y'all, that's a third. That's a third of your 2 deep.
Yeah.
Good teams who have developed and have good players could potentially be struggling if you have a third of your 2 deep banged up.
It's not good.
I don't even think that's a question.
You haven't even mentioned Burgos with his shoulder.
Yeah.
Well, he's playing at least.
Yeah, but I'm saying you didn't mention that.
Hard to be effective when you.
All right, now we at 9. We about to get to half of the 2 deep is injured in some way, shape, or form.
Holloway.
Oh no, wait a second. Wait a second. Gallows 10.
Yeah. Did you mention Peoples?
I didn't mention Peoples.
Peoples is
Holloway's nicked. I think he's still out there doing things though.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It is crazy, the injury bug. But it's football. It's like you can never know who's going to be injured and how to prepare for it. But it sucks that it always happens at Virginia Tech. It sucks, man. And it's only the fourth. Like, we're going into the 4th game of the season, and we're talking about them. And we don't know. We don't know where these people are going. I think Curtis talked. I don't know if it was the first show of the season or maybe the second when Curtis talked about they're going. Maybe it was a rule to implement and talking about the injury report.
Yeah,
we talked about if it would affect like people knowing NIL stuff. Tell us who hurt so we can just go ahead and prepare. Let me know before the game who's going to play and who ain't.
You don't like these depth charts that don't really tell you the story?
No. Don't even release one.
Where's Pete B's tweet about that? Where's Pete B's tweet about? Pull that shit up.
Find it.
Pete B. My boy Pete B has been fighting more than me on Twitter. Like,
he has been fighting, and he's been
Pete B. I thought I was Pete B. You are a PR nightmare, sir. When you're worse than Tyler, it's bad.
Well, the one that got me from Pete, and I love Pete, but we
cool.
chat. When Pete said this is the worst loss he'd ever saw, I literally went, dude, where were you at 98 Temple? That is the worst loss in program history. Okay. Oh, you got the claps over here. All right, pull it down real quick. I'm going to address this. Then don't put anything out.
Don't put it out. You got to put nothing out.
You got to put nothing out. Leave us in the dark. Yeah, Pete B's a legend.
Pete B is
bad.
That's something
really, I don't know what else, because we talked about not taking away their rushing attack. They went for 256 on us. But again, I think we're slowly getting to the point where this section gets smaller and smaller every week because you do start seeing things. The only thing I hope is that within the next few games, we start having positives here, right?
Yeah. Well, if we can learn to run the football more effectively, and if we can learn to stop the rush more effectively, then these 2 middle sections will get smaller.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because most of these middle sections are either stuff that we're struggling with mightily, which is those 2 things, or things like injuries, which some we can control, some we try to mitigate, but we may not be able to understand the full scope of what the ask is until we get into the thick of it, right? So that's when we talk about the run game. So it's going to be interesting to see how we pivot this week and what sort of adjustments we make, especially if the guys at safety are not able to go this week.
That's going to be a real issue. Sheldon, anything else you want to add here? You have been very quiet in this section, so I'm going to give you the floor for a couple minutes here.
Yeah, the thing is, I think for me, it's hard to really judge the efficacy of our defensive backs because they just haven't been tested. I was looking at this number before we got on because I wanted to confirm. Tech has the 10th highest opponent rushing rate in the country. So basically the game plan for offenses against Tech is just run. And we've kind of seen that throughout the course of the season. I mean, I don't know if I could explain this the right way. Someone who knows more about the X's and O's could articulate this better. But when you watch these linebackers and safeties, they aren't looking at where the ball is or where it's going to be. And Brian talk about the bad angles. I don't think they're just not anticipating right. And it's an experience problem. It's I think it's also partly, there's some physicality too. Like obviously the linebackers have sometimes run themselves out of position, but even when they are in position, I think they're just they're getting beat up physically. Now maybe that's, a strength problem. They need a couple more years in the weight room, but you've got a lot of, tall, lanky, athletic guys out there at linebacker, a bunch of, converted safeties, and not a lot of guys that are, big and strong, like a prototypical Brent Pye, Mike linebacker. So it's just a combination of poor assignments, not having the right athletes out there, and just youth and experience. So lots of things to correct for sure.
All righty. Well, we hope we can get into that now. We got the laundry list of things going on, because now we're going to go what to do better moving forward. And that's actually longer than anything we've discussed tonight. Now, I'm going to take the first one here. We already mentioned it once, and I'm going to go to a little something that I read, didn't like, and then I listened to something. We need to stick with Kyron Drones. I think everybody here agrees. I think most of Hokie Notion agrees. But if you if you read some transcripts from people putting things on Twitter Saturday night and Sunday morning about the Brent Pry press conference, you probably were under the impression that Brent Pry said we needed Grant Wells back. I saw that, and I was like, that's an unusual statement, especially the way Kyron played. Kyron played pretty well to be a first-time starter on the road against a top 25 defense. So I decided to listen to the full interview. And things were taken completely out of context. First of all, did he have some critiques of Kyron? Yes, he did. He did, absolutely. But that was way at the front of the interview, about minute 2 or 3. The comments about Grant Wells were as follows. And this is what people left out. He said, and this was all the quotes on Twitter, we need Grant Wells back. How many people did y'all see lose their ever-loving minds when they saw that? Because what they did is they put the critiques of Kyron and then they layered it on top of that. Actually, this is what Coach Price said. Regardless of our quarterback situation, we need Grant back. And I absolutely agree with that. Mm-hmm. Because right now, Pop Watson is 5'11", 185 pounds. He is a small, true freshman quarterback. I hear that, and I'm saying Brent Pry's mind is, regardless what happens at the quarterback room, I need 2 quarterbacks that can play. Because if we are going to run Kyron Drones 20 times a game, he's probably going to get popped once. And we're going to need someone that is, as much as if you want to bust Wells all you want, bust him. But he could go out there and manage a game for a couple series. That irritated me. Because as soon as I listened to it, I sent it to all 3 of these gentlemen. I'm like, listen, make sure I'm not losing my damn mind, because that irritated me. And a lot of people were up in arms losing their damn mind saying, fire him now. It's like, he didn't say that, though. Listen to the interview. So for everybody listening tonight, next week, don't look at Twitter. Go to Hokie Athletic page, pull up the interview. Usually it's about 7 to 10 minutes. Throw on your AirPods and listen to it. Then you actually hear his words verbatim versus someone chopping and screwing things and definitely looking for clicks. Y'all have the floor now.
You all right over there, Curtis?
Curtis fired up.
That fires me up because you can easily twist something and get people upset and get people angry. We were already on tilt come Saturday night after the loss. Yeah. Put that shit out there like that, the way it was worded. Oh, he thinks Kyron sucks. No, he doesn't.
Right.
No, he doesn't. And y'all listen to it.
I will say he did say that threw me. I ain't gonna say it threw me off because I mean I understand the comment because I play football and I play sports, and it sounds like somebody tell my son. He said he was inconsistent. We got to get better at being consistent. When you have a first-time starter, I just feel, and again, Brent Pry is very, very candid in how he speaks, which is great when you're interviewing him and when he's out talking and things like that. I think he has to do a little bit different job or find a little bit different way to handle some of the stuff, because when you have like a first-time starter like Kyron Drones, I don't feel that he's got that full embrace of the team and of the coaching staff and even of the fans for him to go and perform yet. You know, I'd like to see Brent take him under his wing a little bit and say, hey, this kid, we're going to work with him. We're going to, and he said a little bit of this, but, you know, leading up into the game, it was never, you know, hey, Kyron's our guy. We're going to go out there with him and whatever he's got, we got full confidence that he's gonna go get it done. All we heard was, well, it may be Grant Wells. Like we haven't got that full endorsement of Kyron Drones to go and be the starter and lead the team. I think he came in and did a great job for what it was, but I would just like for him just to get a little bit more endorsement. That's it. Okay. And while I'm on this, since Curtis wants to have a little rant, can I have a little rant for a minute? Because somebody did something on Twitter, and I gotta talk about it a little bit. So somebody waits till Monday morning. Again, everybody watching this, I just told y'all how I operate. Yeah, we record on Tuesdays. Today we're doing it on Monday. This is what we do for fun. We are not getting paid by the school. These guys that are on here are my brothers. This is what we do. We talk all the time about Virginia Tech athletics. We talk all the time about football in general. We watch a lot of sports. But what somebody thought would be cool to do was to go on Twitter and tag Boundary Corner Podcast and tag Talibans and say, this guy said the staff is racist, and if y'all are going to back him, I'm never listening to your show again. That's fucking bullshit. And if you never want to listen to me again, fucking don't listen. But if you're going to record something I say, or you're going to quote something I say, please make sure you dig and you find out exactly what I said. My comments were never that the staff was racist and that they didn't like black people. My comments were, there are politics in football. I would like to know who is helping with the decision making. That's where that comment came from. Then I caveated that by saying, I live in Alabama. The people here are very blatant when they are racist. That's what I said. I said, the fans here, if they don't want a quarterback, they're going to tell me exactly why they don't want him. That's what I said. Never said that Brett Price been on this show. And if I thought he was racist, I don't got to have a conversation with him. He don't have to have a conversation with me. But for somebody to go and try to cherry pick a comment and try to think that they're going to do anything to what we got going on here, let me tell you what you can do. I ain't going to even go there. I'm just going to tell you to have a nice day because it's a new week. That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say. But in all seriousness, what that Twitter user 123, whatever his name is, what you thought was said or what you tried to make a big thing that was said, a lot of people listen to us, and that's why everybody jumped on your ass. And that's why you had to back off of Twitter. Sometimes you just got to log out, because if you waited till Monday morning, that was near and dear in your heart, you didn't listen good enough. You just took that and you didn't go to church. Go to church, man. Pray about that stuff.
All right. Siegel, Sheldon, this is clearly we're just opening it up. Feelings hour. We're what to do better moving forward. We've talked about a lot of it.
Well, I mean, I'm just gonna say this. I mean, we talk about it all the time, and I know I said it in reply to this tweet, but I mean, we're open. We're an open forum here, right? Like, we don't really pull punches. We want the thoughts and the ideas to be out there. So. And we want fans to interact with that. But what we want fans to do is interact with that in a way that is positive, right? In a way that generates the discussion, pushes the discussion forward, not shuts things down. When you start cherry picking things like that and twisting someone's words, you're not only alienating the people that enjoy what we're doing, but you're making it so other people don't want to engage and have those open discussions. They feel like they can say stuff without, somebody running it to Twitter and making a big deal about it. So just come here and have fun. That's what this is about.
Come in, have fun.
Nobody was trying to ruin anyone's career or like.
I'm an open book.
What are we doing here?
Anybody who has anything to say to me, you can ask just about anybody that follows me on Twitter. I don't have a lot of followers. I got a couple of them, but anybody who engages with me on Twitter, man, and my DMs are open. I got plenty of people's number. And Blacksburg treats me good when I go to Blacksburg, man. I got a lot of friends there. I wouldn't travel 7 hours to a place where I thought people were racist and they didn't want me. So I'm just going to put that out. Every time I go to Blacksburg and every time I've been to Blacksburg over the past decade has been a movie for me. So I just wanted to get my feelings out, and I just wanted to address that because I'm not gonna address stupidity too much. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna say a little bit just so you can get your feelings out. But just like we had a comment section, If you hear me saying something that you don't agree with, please engage and tell me. Tally, I think that was dumb. And we'll have a dialogue about it. So that's what we want here. That's why Curtis and Brian have did a great job setting up what Boundary Corner is, that we do have those discussions, but I'm not going to take something that anybody in our audience says and twist it around to make it mean what I want it to mean. That's just not what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you your opportunity to explain it. And then the person said, well, after watching the game, I do agree with you. Drone should be the starter. But what are we arguing about? Who's arguing? What are we arguing about?
But you know what else we got to do better moving forward? We talked about the O-line switch up. Got to do it. Got to start trying it. Sheldon, he laid it out here a little while ago. We are one of the worst teams with explosive run plays. It has to stop. I don't know if that means stack boxes. I'm not a technical expert. That's why we got Brian and Tally. Sheldon finds the data. I just talk.
No, that ain't why you got Tally.
Hey, you played at a level I never did, and a lot of people
pull everybody out. Put a whole new line in. I don't know what you're doing.
There's two pieces we haven't touched, and Sheldon could probably find the stats on it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all, we haven't forced a turnover since ODU. We have turned the ball over 4 times since ODU.
Got to win the turnover battle.
We're losing that battle, and in both games we lost. Significant momentum switches when we had the turnovers.
Yep.
That has got to stop. Now, I know the meshes and things like that are going to get better. I know. If you're keeping drones there, he's going to get more time with Tuden and more time with Malachi. But we have not had a chance to pick or fumble or force a fumble since the ODU game.
Right.
And it's not good because we're going into that trend where we were last year, where we were one of the worst tools at forcing turnovers. We can't live and die like that with the way the offense is right now coming along.
No.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about earlier, razor thin margin, right? So it's like that with the injuries. It's also like that with the turnover battle.
Mm-hmm.
We are at such a razor thin margin where we can't make those type of mistakes that give teams extra possessions, that give teams short fields.
Right.
So we've got to win the turnover battle every week, whether that's Marshall, whether that's ODU, whether that's Purdue, Rutgers. We got Pitt in a couple weeks. We cannot lose the turnover battle with the depth issues that we have, with the injuries that we have right now. Yeah. That's just the long and short of it. So anybody you got to be able to protect the football.
Man, you got college. Oh, go ahead, Sheldon. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say real quickly that it makes sense why they're not getting interceptions, because, as I said, nobody's throwing the ball against Tech. So you're essentially relying on forced fumbles, which is kind of hard to do. But to me, the conclusion from that should be just play better run defense. I mean, because if you play better run defense, you force them to throw the ball more, and if they throw the ball more, then that's more chances for picks. I mean, to me, it's really that simple. Just play better on the run.
Yeah.
Well, usually what defenses try to do is shut down the run game and make them test you down the field, right? That's generally the way that you try to. I mean, that's the approach that most people have, is that we can stop the run, force them to be one-dimensional, make them throw the ball down the field. We have a better chance of turnovers, and things can go our way. We'll live and die with the deep ball here or there, but we might get some turnovers. That's going to help us. If you can't get off the field because they're rushing the ball on you, and if you're giving up long run plays consistently, you're going to have very limited opportunities, like Shelton said, to get turnovers. I mean, forcing a fumble outside of a strip sack is difficult. Like that, they don't happen very often. So
they do not. All right.
Yeah,
last
Shelton 100%.
Yep. Thanks. It's a good call, Sheldon, and that's why he's here. Last piece I got before we turn it over. We got to finish. We have to finish our drives. We cannot afford field goals. We have to finish stops. When we get a team in third and more than 5, they cannot get first downs. That we've seen, to me, and maybe the stats aren't on this, but as far as it goes from the eye test, it feels like 3rd and 4, it's like hold your breath, like, man, they're probably going to get this.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last piece, we have to finish in the 4th quarter. It's 2 games now. We did not finish the 4th. That was the identity of this team last year. It slowly changed. Getting to the last thing of the game, To me, we can't afford that this year. It needs to get righted quicker, but we need to finish.
I agree. I think that one thing we skipped over that I just want to maybe I just was in my feelings and missed us saying it, but we talked about the slow starts, mentioned the slow starts and things like that. Like we got to get off to a fast start in some of these games. You know what I'm saying? We got to punch somebody in the mouth first, because in any sport, when you get punched in the mouth, like everybody's got a plan until that happens. You know, and I feel like we were fighting a losing battle from the beginning of that game because we went out and fumbled the first drive and they go and score. So we got to go out and we got to create some things like that first. We got to start getting off to a little bit better start. And I think that, you know, of course that'll help us, but all the things that we're talking about will help us do that. Got to get off the field on third downs. We got to stop turning the ball over. All of these things that we've talked about for the last hour and 2 minutes here.
I know.
If we can cut some of that down, it definitely gives us a better shot to win the game. Especially when you're paying people like Marshall. You know, no disrespect to Marshall, but like I expect a certain game from a Florida State or Clemson or even Pitt. But when you're playing people like Purdue or Rutgers, like we got to find a way not to give them extra possessions and things like that.
Or give them that hope early on. Like, just think about last year. The reason that, you know, we were able to jump down on BC early was because we jumped on them early. We killed their will early in that game with some defensive plays and some timely offense that, you know, they really didn't have a whole lot of pulse. They had to abandon what their game plan was and do something different.
You know why they didn't have a lot of
that
pulse?
enabled us to tee off on that poor ass offensive line. So,
you know why
if we can finally do something like that would at least help us be able to stay with our game plan, stick to what we do well, and put some pressure on them to have to make a play instead of us having to make a play.
I'm gonna go to this right quick so we can move on. But Brian, you said you brought up BC last year. You know why they didn't have a pulse? Because their quarterback was who?
Jurkovec.
Please, God, let him roll in there when Pitt comes into town next week. I'm not saying we're going to win, but don't change. Just let him go. Please let him run in there and be the quarterback. He's horrible. He is horrible, man. All right. Go ahead, Curtis.
I'm going to pitch this real quick and try to do this in as few words as possible. That sometimes can get difficult for us. Through the first 3 games, Shelton, what's the team's identity?
What's the team's identity? I mean, well, it's changed a lot. Like ODU, it was, you know, we're going to run the ball on first down no matter what. And it's like, okay, we're going to start passing the ball because if you have a run game against Purdue and against Rutgers, obviously you got a new quarterback. So you're running a lot more, you know, RPO stuff, kind of getting the quarterback involved in the run game. Honestly, I don't know. It's hard for me to judge because the personnel keeps changing and there's just nothing that's really sticking. So I would say, obviously, they want to, you know, use the quarterback in the run game. That's your offensive identity. Defensively, I think they've got no idea what's going on, and I honestly couldn't tell you. So it's kind of a mess right now.
Tally?
I think right now we're auditioning for NCAA 2024. Is that when the game come out?
That's what they claim.
Next year? Yeah. I think that's what we're auditioning for. You know, we're just gonna pick plays until see what works and go from there. Hell, I don't know. I'm like Sheldon, man. It's changed every week. But I'm going to say this, and I know you want me to keep it short, so I'm going to keep it short. I could see what the offense is supposed to look like in the Rutgers game. Yep. From what I've heard, from what they've been telling us, and from what I've seen in the Rutgers game, I can see the style of offense that they want to
run. I'm kind of with Tally here. I finally saw an identity on offense this week with Drones as the quarterback. I felt like with Wells, you could see the passing schemes, what they were capable of, especially when you had Jennings in there and Lane in there. You can see what the capability is. But in terms of the full scope of what the offense is about, you saw that with Drones in the game.
Yep.
Defensively, I feel like we are scrambling a little bit, and I think most of that is because of the injuries at safety. I think we're still very inexperienced at linebacker, and it's showing. And I think we're still a little undersized on the defensive line, and it's showing.
Mm-hmm.
I think cornerback is the only position that I really feel has an identity right now. I feel like they are playing well. They're locking guys up pretty well when those situations arise. We saw them throw a decent amount in the Purdue game. They threw the ball around a little bit. They ran a lot, but they threw as well. We didn't see a ton of throwing in ODU. We didn't see a ton of throwing at Rutgers. But when they did throw, they weren't effective.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's on the secondary or not, but right now, statistically at least, they're a pretty good secondary. And that's really the only thing. And that's really the only thing I feel like we're leaning on right now from a defensive perspective.
Statistically, until we see more passing. And I think that's where the run game has to get fitted. And I think what my identity is, Brent Pry knows what he wants to do on defense, but right now the pieces aren't there, or the pieces are too young and they're making significant errors, especially in the linebacking core and even more so in the safety core. Offensively, I love what Sheldon said. I didn't really know. It's like we were this first week, we were this the second week, and we're this the third week. But it goes back to what y'all two just said. How that looked like reminiscence of Penn State about 5 years ago. It looked like Joe Moorhead's offense that I seen at Oregon, like I seen at Mississippi State. And that's how you can go. Because I look at our stats here. We had 368 total yards against ODU. 368. That was a full team, right? Jennings played, Lane played. Nobody was banged up. Tude and Thomas. Last week, down your two best receivers, brand new quarterback, we put out 339. Or 319, excuse me. I looked at the math wrong.
Yeah.
That's 50 yards difference, and you're missing a hell of a lot of production there.
Yeah.
A hell of a lot of production. All right, we are over an hour, so we are going to take a quick pause from our digital partners and Main Street Pharmacy.
I can probably save you a lot of money, and I can take a lot better care of you. That's pretty much it. My name is Jeremy Counts, and I'm a pharmacist. I own and operate Main Street Pharmacy here in downtown Blacksburg. My brother's a pharmacist, I'm a pharmacist, my uncle's a pharmacist, my dad's a pharmacist. I remember he would give me M&Ms to count in little pill counters. This is something I've always done, and I'm just lucky that what I know so well is something that I can do and feel good about it and give back to people. Pharmacies are your frontline defense. Pharmacy's job is to make sure you're getting optimal care for the lowest price possible. Also, we take the pressure off of emergency rooms. I'll tell people immediately when they need to go to the doctor, or I'll tell them if they just need a cream over the counter. If there's something that isn't commercially available, if it's something that's not available in a certain strength or a certain form or anything like that, we'll make it. Tailor-made medications. Some of those options save people a lot of money. What motivates me? I get to take care of people and live in Blacksburg. That's all I need.
As we take a quick break, we'd like to tell you about getting your free website report from our digital partner, Grassroots Digital Marketing Studio. They'll tell you how your website ranks on Google, on-site SEO, and social media. No commitment to buy anything. You can get your free report by visiting grassrootsdigitalstudio.com/free-website-report. Now back to the episode.
And we are back, and we've lost Shelton. He shall return in a moment. But now we are going to get into Know the Enemy, and we're going to take a look at Marshall. And we're going to start, as always, on the offensive side of the ball. I'm going to give the floor to Brian Siegler as he discusses the scheme and some things we need to be looking for.
Yeah, guys, we're looking at the Clint Trickett. It's another smash mouth spread RPO. We got it's a run first scheme. Shocking to say, we're going to have to stop the run again this week. They like to go empty a lot with frequency. They'll split Rasheen Ali, who we'll talk about here in a second, out wide. They'll run some draws out of that. They'll also swing it out there on screens and swing passes. And they're really heavy on that, but they will take the occasional deep shot in there as well. But it's mostly a lot of the short stuff and a heavy dose of the rushing attack. And since we're already here, I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about Rasheen Ali. He's their running back. Literally, to me, the only player that scares me on this this offense, and it's not just because we have a really struggle bus rush defense right now. He's pretty dangerous. He kind of reminds me of a poor man's Izzy Abanikanda.
Oh my God! I
He
told
gets
you
to the
stop
second
saying
and
that
third
name.
level. He's pretty dangerous. If we can keep him contained in the backfield, I'll feel okay about it. Him getting to the second and third level, that's where he does a whole lot of damage. He can be a big play threat, but he is very boom or bust. He's not that plotting running back that's going to get you a consistent, 4 to 8 yards as he's moving through the line. He's either going to kind of go for 1 or 2, or it's going to be one of those 15 or 20 or even bigger gains on the running game. So definitely an explosive running back that can make a big play. So we got to stop him. If we do, I'll feel a little bit better.
Go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, I was just gonna say he had a big year in 2021. Went for about 1,400 yards, 23 touchdowns. Last year, not that great of a year. I think he was injured. No, he was injured. He only went for about 273 last year, 1 touchdown. So had some injury problems there. But this year, he's already gone for 222 yards, 5 touchdowns on 36 carries. Again, they are using him out of the backfield a little bit, about 5 catches, 47 yards there, no touchdowns catching the ball, but pretty, like you said, Brian, hit nail on the head with him. Reminds you a lot of that name that we're not going to say. It's kind of like Voldemort. Like, we don't want to talk. We don't say that name on this podcast.
Curtis will get some flashbacks. He'll feel like he's mom again or something.
Yeah, it's crazy, but he's one of the players on their team that, kind of like Brian says, is a little bit scary. So we're gonna have our hands full. And I hope that our defensive staff are preparing for seeing him.
All right, Sheldon. Any deeper stats on Rasheen Ali?
He has a 71% breakaway percentage, which I believe runs to 15 more yards, and that is third among all running backs in the entire group of 5.
Damn.
So, like Brian was saying, he's a big-time explosive play guy.
All right. Well, let's hope the defense can figure something out this week as they prep for them, because if the pass defense is what it is, they're going to have to stop number 5, Caleb McMillan. Caleb is a 6'3", 250-pound wide receiver. He was almost the 2500 prospect in the class of 2018 out of Orlando, Florida, in Edgewater High School. Was rated a 2-star down there, and really hadn't been much of a contributor up until this season. Only 198 yards last year with 1 touchdown. This year, and especially last week against ECU, big game, 85 yards, including a 75-yard touchdown. Brian, was that 75-yard touchdown a make or miss, or was he down the field?
Yeah, he was down the field. He's a guy that can beat you with the. He's a guy he's their primary deep threat here. So he's gonna be a guy that can beat you deep. But they will use him on those kind of swings and screens as well. So he does a little bit of both, but that big one kind of came off a deep ball. They will occasionally take a shot with him, but he's a guy that can kind of do a little bit of everything, but he's primarily going to be a guy that we're going to be concerned about if he's going deep.
All righty. Well, let's hope we can stop him in that one. Tally, who do you got up next?
Yeah, so we got Cade Conley up next. He's their tight end. He was pretty interesting prospect, I guess, because he didn't show any offers out of high school. Didn't even have a rating. Went to Central Michigan, transferred from Central Michigan to Marshall. While he was at Central Michigan in 2022, looks like he had 11 receptions for about 168 yards. Also not used a whole bunch in the passing game there. But this year, he's already got 9 catches for 114 yards. So it looks like they are using him a little bit more there at Marshall than he was. I know he's more of a blocking tight end, but seems to be an intricate part of their offense. What you got on him, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I'd call him a balanced tight end. he's definitely better at blocking than being used in the passing game, but he's efficient in the passing game. So I mean, that's a lot of times that's what you want out of a tight end, guys that can move the stick, kind of a change of pace in the passing game. But he blocks really good for a tight end, blocks with good leverage, so shows surprising power for his size. So overall, just a guy that can kind of get in there and rough things up a little bit in the run game, but still kind of move the sticks for them in the passing game.
Right.
Sheldon, anything on him as far as grades go? Anything unique, different?
Not too much. Pretty much a run-of-the-mill tight end. They do target him a relatively solid amount, especially considering they've only played in 2 games so far. They got 10 targets, but he averages almost 13 yards a catch, which for Marshall is pretty good. So also a big-time explosive play guy.
All righty. Let's flip over. Let's take a look at the offensive line because they've got a guy, Tally, much like the guy you were looking for. I could not find anything recruiting wide on Ethan Driscoll, who is their left tackle. Number 52, 6'9", 329 pound, a redshirt senior. Holy Cross, yeah, big boy. Holy Cross High School in Louisville, Kentucky, where he played D-tackle in high school, also played basketball. And if you search his name up, a lot of stuff is coming up. He is getting NFL looks. He was a preseason All-Sun Belt second team by Phil Steele at Athlon with the Sun Belt Conference coaches. So, Brian, is he good enough to potentially make it to the next level?
I mean, he's got the right body. I think from a run game perspective, he's very good. But I'd say overall, he's a very balanced left tackle. Shows good footwork and strength in the run game. Pass pro isn't exceptional, but above average. So I mean, just overall, he's definitely a guy that we could really use on our side of the ball. At this point, when we look at the tackles there,
Ziegler, we probably could use you right now.
I mean, it'd be nice to have an NFL prospect on our offensive line right now, if we're being honest. Just because I don't right now, at least. I know it's still early for some of the young guys, but we do not have an NFL prospect on our offensive line right now. So they got one. Like I said, he's pretty solid overall. And I know Sheldon's got a couple other guys he wants to talk a little bit about the grades and where they kind of rank in the process there as well.
Sure. So you've got Dalton Tucker, who's played right guard and right tackle. He is a 6-year senior, highest graded offensive lineman for Marshall. On the flip side, Altric Barlow is their left guard. He has been a lowest graded guy. He's a transfer from TCU. A lot of experience with Trent Holler at center, 5th-year senior, very good in pass blocking. One stat that I got, so between Holler and Logan Osborne, who's their right guard, they've combined for 140 pass protection snaps, and they have not allowed a single pressure. So Marshall as a team ranks top in the country through 2 games in pressure rate allowed. They do not give up anything. Now you could say 2 games, small sample size, not a great competition. That's fair, but they're doing a lot of things very well on the pass protection side so far.
It's doing the things right against those lower levels. Yes. Now, I'm surprised you say that. And then looking at the 2 games they've played this year, because they had a comeback against Albany State. I don't know what Albany State is. I want to say D2. I don't think they're FCS. Okay. Yeah. And then ECU last week, same thing. This is not a good ECU team this year, and they had a comeback on them. So hearing how good they've played offensively, hearing explosive running plays, something's not quite. Either they are hitting home runs at the exact right time to win games, or there's a lot more that's going on behind the scenes there about why they are struggling with not the best of teams. Let's flip to the defensive side of the ball, Brian. Let's talk about the schemes and something unique we're probably going to see from their defensive coordinator, Jason Samora.
Yeah, I mean it's a 4-2-5. I mean, he calls it a 4-2-5. I mean, it looks like a 2-4-5. They use 2 stand-up DNs, and the reason I say it's more of a 2-4-5 is that they do use those ends in a lot of zone blitz schemes, right? So they're dropping those guys in coverage on a regular basis. Not necessarily both at the same time, but sometimes they do. But it's usually one or the other. He's the new guy. First year taking over for Lance Guidry. Scheme is pretty much the same though, so you're not going to see a bunch of differences from a scheme perspective, but it's deployed a little bit different. You got a new guy that's calling the plays in there.
All right, so it's always interesting anytime you see a change in play caller, as we're seeing on the defense this year. It can happen and things can change. Let's talk about some of the players on their defensive side of the ball. And I'm going to start with Sam Burden, a 6'2", 230-pound defensive lineman. He is out of Spanish River Community in Boca Raton, Florida. He is a class of 2018, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. He is a fifth-year guy, probably with a COVID year of eligibility left. Not a lot of offers coming out. Bethune-Cookman, FIU are some that did give him some offers. FIU was a walk-on offer. But you know what? As a two-star guy, he's gotten to Marshall, and he's actually made a kind of a decent career of it so far, especially the last 2 years, 21 and 22, 61 total tackles, 11 and a half tackles for loss, along with 8 sacks. Already starting this year with a strong campaign, 9 tackles, 3.5 sacks. Brian, what is his tape showing as far as it goes? And does he stand up or is he up and down with his hand?
He's the stand-up guy unless they go into like a true dime package, which they will from time to time.
Okay.
That dime package is kind of a 3-man line. So the 2 stand-up DNs will be the hand of the dirt DNs in that look there. But he's a stand-up. You call him outside linebacker. You can call him DN, depending on which way you want to spin it there. But he's their best all-around D lineman. We'll call him a D lineman in this case. Really good combination of strength and speed. And he will get, like I said, he will get dropped in coverage on zone blitz calls there. They'll also use him as a spy if you've got an athletic quarterback, so look for that if Drones is the guy this week. And like I said, when they rarely go into that dime look, he'll be in that 4-eye alignment.
We got anything extra on him, Shelton, from analytics perspective?
Yes, he is the 4th highest grading group of 5 edge rusher. He's got 12 quarterback pressures and 51 pass rush opportunities, which is around 25%. So about a quarter of the time he's getting to the quarterback.
Quarter of the time he's getting to quarterback, and I hear 3.5 sacks. It sounds like when he pressures, it's a third of the time he's getting there when he puts the pressure on. So why do you keep putting higher and higher numbers on all these guys, Shelton?
I mean, it's not gonna get better. They've got a good defense. It's not getting better.
Oh man, well, who's the next guy we're gonna talk about, Tally? So Shelton can make us feel worse.
Talk about linebackers. Eli Neal, the linebacker, wears number 24. It's about 6 foot, 226. Out of high school, he went to White Station there in Memphis, Tennessee. Not a ton of big offers out of high school. He had about 15 offers, one being Arkansas. Sorry, one being Arkansas. So Arkansas and Marshall offered him. He went to Marshall. He is a 2019 guy, so he's been there for a little bit. He was 2020 All Conference USA honorable mention. 2021 All Conference USA honorable mention. 2022 honorable mention. In 2020, in 23, he is a preseason All Sun Belt Conference second team with Phil Steele, and then 2023 preseason All Sun Belt Conference first team with Athlon. So that's just a little bit of accolades that he's had, or how they feel about him. Where's my other stat on him? Just what he's doing this year. From what it's showing, it says he has about 14 tackles so far this year. So each game he's had about 7 tackles, half a sack in the first game. That's what I'm seeing on him. Brian, what you got?
Yeah, he plays that Mike linebacker for them. He's very effective against the run. So, it's going to be hard finding some space in that middle there, especially if we continue blocking the way we have. Does a good job of shedding blockers, uses his hands really well, is really physical at the point of attack. The only thing I'd say you can get fooled with some misdirection, whether it's motion or whether it's using your offensive line to kind of create misdirection, whether it's in a counter or some sort of RPO going away from the flow. He does primarily key on the guard, so if you can play around with that, sometimes you can get him out of position. But very sound linebacker overall and good playmaker.
All right, break the more bad news. Where is he like the best linebacker in the G5 level, Shelton?
Not quite, but he does have another good pass rush grade up at 83. Six quarterback pressures in 12, or excuse me, 5 in 9 opportunities. So a small sample there, but like I said, I mean, these guys they get to the QB.
All right, we keep hearing more about them getting to the QB. It's our offensive line. You know what? I joked with them. I'm going to be at my son's baseball game during this game, with the exception of probably about 20 minutes of it. So if we win, I don't think y'all are going to allow me back in front of the TV, right? Especially as good as they are from a statistic standpoint.
No more VT games for you the rest of the year.
Live. I can watch it on replay when it's over, right?
Yeah.
All right, one more player to hit up here, and his name is Daytoni Smith. He is a defensive back from Highland Springs High School, boys. Highland Springs High School. Had to throw him on here. Was a 2-star prospect when he came out back in 2020. So far this year, 11 total tackles. He does have 1 sack. He has a pass deflection. Played in 8 games last year. We also had 18 tackles, 3 pass deflections, and just a very short time frame there. They put him as defensive back. Where is he going, Siegler? Are we going to see him at one specific spot, or does he move around?
He's moved around. He's listed as a cornerback, but I've seen him at safety in pretty much, I'd say 75% of the snaps I've watched. He's lining up at safety. He'll kind of be that third safety in this look here. They'll also put him at corner, but he's really strong in man coverage. That's where he excels. I haven't seen him play a huge factor in run support, but when he does, he is very competent. He tackles pretty well, and they'll use him in a lot of the blitz packages. He's very effective at getting home. Not always getting the sack, but he will get there and cause a little bit of disruption in the backfield.
All righty. Anything exclusive on him, Shelton?
Yeah, Brian's eye test kind of lined up with most of the grades. Good in coverage, not so good in run support. And like he was saying, he has been used in a lot of different positions. So some in the box, some at free safety, and some in the slot as well. So very versatile player.
All right. Doesn't shock me coming from Highland Springs and what they do out there. So there is Know the Enemy, some players and some things to look for during the game on Saturday at 12 on ESPN2 for the second time this year. But now let's talk about what the Hokies keys are. And I'm going to start with Shelton. Shelton, what is your key for the Hokies this week?
Yeah, so my key was secondary play. I mean, it's got to be better. You look at, the running numbers they've been giving up. I think most of that falls on the guys in the back 7. You look at the freshman tech is playing between Caleb Woodson, Mose Phillips. You throw Jalen Jones in there. It has not been great. I mean, these are some of the worst grades in all the Power 5, quite frankly, at their respective positions. We saw them try Montford Lane, some at safety, but that's not going to be a dependable strategy for the entire game. So the secondary play has to be better. I think they need to do a better job of sticking to their assignments and playing anticipatory football.
All righty. Siegler, what do you got this week as far as your Hokie keys go?
Get home. We've got to get in the backfield, whether that's disrupting, using the defensive line to disrupt the rushing lanes, get those tackles for losses, but also getting after the quarterback and putting them behind the chains significantly. Because right now, teams that right now feel that they can run the football against us, if the down and distance is 8 or less, they're comfortable. All right, it's third and 8. Fuck it, we'll run the ball against this team. We'll probably get a first down. We've got to get Marshall behind the sticks consistently and make them have to go to the throw. And then we have to continue to tackle well. If we can do that, we can slow this team down.
All righty. Tally, I think after here, Tally wrote this down a couple last night, and then after hearing Shelton's, it's even going to be more clear, right?
Yeah, we got to keep the quarterback clean, man. Got to keep the quarterback clean. He ran the ball 22 times against Rutgers, so he's going to get out and he's going to try to make some plays with his feet. But when he's in the pocket and he's trying to deliver throws, especially after hearing about all the people that they have that are rushing the passer, that are getting home, that are, just causing chaos in the backfield, we got to keep whoever the quarterback is there upright. If it's Kyron Drones, we got to keep him clean. If it's Grant Wells, we got to keep him clean, because if we don't do that, it's going to get ugly for us.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I got a little one on the offensive side of the ball too, and it's going to be third down efficiency. We need to continue the improvement. Purdue on third and fourth down conversions, we were 21%. That took a significant increase, almost 100% increase going against Rutgers. Went up to 39%. We need to continue to do that. If for nothing else, it's going to help the defense if we're staying off the field. We dominated TOP versus Rutgers. I think that's one reason why the dam didn't break until as late as it did, because we did keep them off the field. So keep that trending in the right direction. Keep converting the third downs. Keep converting the fourth downs. I will say this, Brent Pry's aggressiveness this year, I've liked. There's been times where it's like, we're not punting. We're trying to score points, which does make me a happy individual. So, Sheldon, you got one more thing you want to throw in on this?
Yeah, so just a final word on Marshall. Obviously, they've really struggled to run the ball this year. We talked about their really good pass protection. I think if you're looking for comps to Virginia Tech's previous opponents, their offense is probably not quite as good as Rutgers, but definitely a much more formidable opponent than Old Dominion was. They have a very experienced defense. They've got multiple fourth-year starters, fifth-year starters, even one sixth-year player. And, bottom line, this is a really, really good defensive program, not just team, but program. You look at over the past 3 years in SP Plus defensive rankings, 22nd, 41st, and 8th. So they had the 8th best defense in the country last year, according to SP Plus. And that's adjusted for strength of schedule, everything. So that, that takes into account all the teams are playing. This is a really, really good defensive program. So as we can see by the Vegas line, do not expect a lot of points. And Virginia Tech is going to have to try really hard to get some points on the scoreboard today. So I expect a grudge match.
All righty. Well, let's flip over to it. Let's get to our prediction and big screeners, which this week we actually have a sponsor for this. This is going to be presented by Prize Picks. We are proud to announce a new partnership with Prize Picks for our big screeners and picks segment. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy app where you make entries based on player projection. This week, this is my boy, although if he's hurt, I might take this one off. I got Brandon Ayuk going for more than 53.5 yards against the Giants. I'll take Mostert less than 60.5 against the Broncos. That's my two for the week. Prize Picks will match any deposit up to $100 when you sign up using our code BCPICKS. That's BCPicks. And if you look right there on the screen right now, there is a little QR code. You can also click that or head to boundarycornervt.com/BCPicks. Last week, we all picked the exact same record. Everybody was 2-5. So if you're betting the lines on our games, maybe not. But we'll see. Tally, you're starting it off. What's going to happen this week at Marshall?
You know what, man? I'm going to say last week I picked Rutgers to win. This week I'm gonna go with the Hokies, man. I think that we're gonna go in. We're gonna have a little bit more of a game plan of what we need to do, and I'm gonna say Hokies pull this game off 28-21.
Ron, who you got?
I'm taking the Hokies, man. If we don't get this one, though, I'm going to start having a little bit of doubt creeping in. You're probably going to see another team's logo pop up next week. But I'm going Hokies 27, Marshall 21. I think it's kind of a grind fest. I think we get one late to kind of put it over the top.
All right, Shelton.
I am taking the Hokies also outright, mainly based on gut feel. I think Kyron Jones is going to make a couple of big plays with his feet. Even though I'm concerned about this matchup because Marshall has some lockdown corners, and obviously they don't really let anyone get to the quarterback. I just got to go with my gut. My gut's saying VT. They're going to make a couple big plays late, and they're going to come away with a close win.
All righty. I'm with y'all as well. A little different score, 27-17 here. Hokies win. Again, you call it gut feel, Sheldon. I think it's also you watch them play as good as they are statistically, as good as they are. They have been in 2 wars. The Albany State game has to be questioned. They were down and had to have 2 fourth quarter scores to come back in that game to beat them 21-17. That's why I'm sticking with the Hokies on this one. All righty. Big screeners time, and good God, when we started talking and texting yesterday with the amount of big games coming on this week, it was insane. This is my big screener. It's going to be on in the afternoon, so I will get to actually watch it after baseball. We got the Colorado Buffaloes, who pulled out somewhat of a miracle against Colorado State. For all those, I saw somebody put up there the other day, I don't know how my body's doing to staying up to 2 o'clock in the morning. Y'all are some non-veteran people out there. Veteran of Pac-12 after dark. You stay up till 2 o'clock all the time to watch the late games on the West Coast. And people complaining. Get up at 2, or go to bed at 2, wake up at 6:30 with the kids. In this game, that is a massive line. Colorado is going to score points. I do not have a doubt about that. I do think Oregon wins, but you're going to give me 19.5 points with the way Shamir Sanders and that offense has looked thus far. I will take it. I don't know what the over-under is, but lock that up as well because this is going to be a shootout at the zoo in Autzen. Let's see. Who's next on that one? Tally, who you got?
Yeah, man, I'm taking Colorado as well. I think Oregon wins that game, but, 19.5 points, that's a lot of points, man. I don't think that Oregon blows them off the field by 20 points.
No way. You're with me here. All righty. Sheldon, what about this one for you?
I'm going with the Buffs. Oregon will win the game, but Shedeur Sanders is a gamer. He's not going to go down without a fight.
Brian?
We're going across the board here. I'm right there with you. I think Sanders is going to be a gamer. Even if they fall behind 1, 2, 3 scores, I think he'll do something late to kind of bring that thing close. I do think Oregon ends up pulling out the win, but 19.5 is just too much for them.
Way too much. By the way, we should have got this line earlier or later, like an hour ago. It went up to 21, just so y'all know. I'd even be hammering Buffaloes even more. 71.5 is the over-under. That seems way too small. All righty. Brian, you are up next. What game do you have on the docket this week?
I got the Ole Miss Bama game, man. This is interesting. I mean, it's obviously two ranked SEC opponents, but to me, this is interesting because this might be, depending on what Alabama's able to do. We haven't seen really good offense from this Alabama team in any game so far this year. They're switching back to Milroe. I mean, they had a quarterback shuffle the last 3 weeks, so I'm interested to see what happens here. But I've got Ole Miss. I mean, 11.5 is a whole lot for a team that's struggling that much to lay. So give me Ole Miss. It'll be a tight one. I think Alabama might squeak it, but if they don't, this could be the earliest that Alabama is a non-factor maybe in the college football playoff.
Yeah.
2010?
Yeah.
Right? 2010 was the last time it was this early. And I'm with him. By the way, we caught this line at a great point. This line has went down 4.5 points since we locked it in yesterday. Give me Ole Miss as well, especially the way Alabama is struggling on offense. I can't foresee who's going to actually win the game because I feel like Saban against disciples, he always does well. But I'll definitely take Ole Miss with 11.5 points. Tally, who you got?
Yeah, I'm going Ole Miss as well, man. I mean, Alabama making another quarterback change. They've been in quarterback disarray, worse than the Hokies as far as who's going to play, who's not going to play. Lane, usually, if he just goes out and coaches a football game, I think it'll be a good game. Lane last year, he gets so caught up in the him versus Saban thing, he just makes stupid, going for it on his own 30 and stuff like that. If he just goes out and he coaches a football game, I think we'll have a close game. Again, I can't pick who wins that game, but I don't think Alabama beats them by 12 points.
What about you, Sheldon?
Yeah, I'm taking Bama mainly because Nick Saban. I trust a mad Nick Saban led team. I know they did not play well. They did not play well last week. I know he's going to give it to them, so they're going to come out motivated this week.
That's fair.
Alrighty.
Pretty good
That's
pick.
fair. That is very fair. It is. He usually bounces back pretty strong. All right, Tally, where are you going on Saturday afternoon with your big screener?
We gotta go Clemson and Florida State, man. I mean, everybody picked them to be at the top of the ACC this year. We got Florida State, 2.5 points?
3.5. 3.5. We called it early. Oh, it was 2. I thought we got it 3.5.
We got it 2.5.
2.5. Yeah. Man, you know what? I'm taking Clemson. I'm taking Clemson in this game. I seen some kinks in the armor for Florida State. We've been talking about Florida State being a college football playoff team, and they may. But I think Clemson has something to prove. I seen BC give. I know it was the red bandana game. I know those games are crazy, but I'm not just ready to say Florida State is all the way back. So I'm taking Clemson.
Sheldon?
Yes, I'm taking FSU. I think FSU is at the point now in terms of their recruiting and development where they have the skill guys to compete with Clemson. Personally, I think Clemson's skill players are a little bit average. So I think this is a game where I expect FSU to win. I think they've got the better quarterback, and they're gonna win this game.
Yeah, down in Death Valley, high noon. So opposite of the Hokies game. So definitely get your 2 screens going. I'm with Shelton on this, Tally. And I think what happened in the red bandana game was the best thing that happened to Florida State. They got challenged by a team a lot lesser than them in a hostile environment. If they go up there and blow the doors off BC, I might lean the other way. But I think having that adversity, it's an easy thing to coach to. Like, look what just happened. We took our foot off the gas. We took our eye off the prize. We damn near lost to a team that almost lost to Holy Cross and did lose to Northern Illinois. Give me the Noles. Give me the Noles by 2 scores.
Oh, okay.
He's
locking it up. He's locking it up.
I'm saying it's going to be they're going to dispatch a Clemson pretty easy. Well, not easy, but
Well, I'm going Florida State as well here, and for a lot of the same reasons. I think talent-wise they're there, but Curtis mentioned it. They got a test. I think we're going to see a similar type of urgency that we saw from UNC against Minnesota after they had that scare at App State. I think it's going to be a similar type situation. Florida State comes out focused, ready to handle Clemson. And I think, as Shelton said, the skill position players for Clemson are very pedestrian. You got Shipley and then a bunch of guys. There's not really a standout, a ton of standout skill position players like they're used to having. So give me Florida State here.
All righty. And if that wasn't enough, Shelton's pick is, I think, the highest rated game of the week. Number 9 against number 6. Sheldon, who'd you pick on yours?
Give me the Buckeyes. I trust Ryan Day. I'm a big Ryan Day fan. I know he's kind of underperformed in some of those big-time games, but I think this is one where he gets him back and he gets a big, I'd say, fan base inducing confidence win.
The way they've looked, he needs it. All right, who you got, Tally?
Man, I'm gonna go Notre Dame in this, man. I've watched Sam Hartman. They had a show. I can't remember what the name of the show is, but I watched him in high school. Then I've watched him in college, and now he's went to Notre Dame. And I mean, the kid's a gamer, man. I think he's gonna go and he's gonna have a good game, and they're gonna take this one.
All righty. I am next on this one. This one is at Notre Dame under the touchdown Jesus. And to be honest, just the way the Buckeyes offense has looked, I'm going to take the 3.5 points we're getting with the Notre Dame. I don't know who wins. It's just like the Ole Miss game. That game, I can't see Bama winning by more than 2 scores. This game, I think it's going to be that classic 27-28 game. Whoever has the ball potentially last wins. And I got to go with Notre Dame just because of Sam Hartman being at home. Give me the points. Home dog points, baby. Siegel?
Yeah, I'm going Ohio State here. I think that so far the Ohio State hasn't really put a full, complete game out there yet. I think they buckle up for a big ranked matchup and finally do that. And I think they're able to cover that 3.5. I think it's still like a 6 or 7 point game, but I think they win by a score late.
Wins by a score late. All right. We got one more. It's just another big game this week. It's Saturday night under the lights at Kinnick Stadium, where top 10 teams' dreams go to die. How many times have people went into that place? They wave to the kids at the hospital, and the next thing you know, Iowa's beating you 13-12 because some fluky stuff happens. Brian, you're going to lead out with this one. We should have held on a few more minutes on this one. Guess when this one went up to today?
13 and a half.
13 and a half. Actually, it's not at Kinnick. I thought it was at Kinnick.
Mm.
It's at Penn State. That's where it was
at Penn State.
It's at Penn State. It went to 14 and a half today. So, Brian, who you got?
Well, that's why I got Penn State. Yeah. So if they were waving at the kids, that 10 and a half, and even, what you said, 14 and a half would be a little bit much, but in Happy Valley, 10 and a half seems just about right. So I'm going to go Penn State here.
Well, my original pick was me looking at it completely ass backwards and thinking it was at Kinnick, not at Beaver Stadium.
Well, it's on the board.
It's on the board now, Curtis. Sorry, buddy. Oh, you may be right.
once
We'll
the bet goes in, you can't get that ticket back, right? Should have looked a little bit closer. It's like being at Vegas, being drunk, making a stupid bet, right? Yeah. But my hope is it is a low score.
I mean, we were all 2 and 5 last week. I mean, this is just as much of a dice roll as anything, man.
Exactly.
And you know what? Maybe Iowa's defense shows up to play, keeps it to an ugly 21-15 game. Who's got this next? Tally.
I got to go with Penn State, man. I just looked at it in there at home. I got to go Penn State with the win.
And Shelton, to wrap us up here.
Yes, give me the Nittany Lions. One thing I've learned in the betting world is that I don't trust teams that have really bad offenses against teams with really explosive playmakers like Penn State has. Even though Iowa's offense is really good, I just do not trust them going in there and getting and covering the spread. So give me Penn State and their playmakers. By the way, the quarterback Aller, he's been really, really good this year. So that even adds to my confidence.
Very nice. All right, so there are our big screeners and our Hokie predictions for the week. Anything, boys, wrapped up in an hour and 50 minutes. Sorry, we had to go on a tangent the first half, y'all.
We had a couple rants that we had to get off our chest, man. That sometimes that
let it flow.
That bumps things up an extra 15, 20 minutes.
Yes, sir.
All right. Anything changed? I'm looking at my fantasy score real quick.
Hey, I pulled out the victory, man.
Oh, you got another kick. Good
Boswell.
I got an 18-point lead with approximately 6 minutes left. So going for 0-2 in fantasy, or 2-0 in fantasy. So that wraps up this episode of the Boundary Corner Podcast, brought to you by Main Street Pharmacy in Blacksburg. I'm Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler.
Jonathan Taylor.
I am Shelton Moss.
Visit our website, boundarycornerbt.com, to listen to all of our episodes. Check the merchandise shop out. Check the Prize Picks site out. Definitely use that code, folks, to get your double deposit there. While you're there, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Please click subscribe if you're listening out there on YouTube tonight. Continue to grow there. Also, subscribe to the Spotify, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen to podcasts. Subscribe and let us play. As always, we let our buddy Jason Long, he plays us in. He plays us out every week. Check him out at jasonlongmusic.com. All of his stuff to Apple, to Spotify, his YouTube, his Facebook pages. He is going to be live nowhere this weekend. He's taking a break this weekend, it looks like. We always think
he's hitting the bottle of rye, man.
I think he finished that bottle of rye last weekend, to be honest with you. But anyways, as always, we thank you guys for listening. We appreciate all of the comments and everything that you guys do every week. Couldn't do it without y'all. And as always, let's go.
Hokies.
Hokies.